Hello and welcome to Digital Transformation for Humans with your host, Amy. In this podcast, we delve into how technology intersects with leadership, innovation, and most importantly, the human spirit. Each episode features visionary leaders who understand that at the heart of success is the human touch, nurturing a winning mindset, fostering emotional intelligence, and building resilient teams. Today, we will explore the journey humanity at a crossroads, the AI versus EI power struggle, the struggle between artificial intelligence and emotional intelligence, with David Galea from Malta.
Thank you, Amy,
Let's
for having me.
thank you. Let's take a look at the space of critical decisions at the intersection of technological capability and human empathy. Subscribe and stay tuned for more episodes. And let's start this conversation and transform not just our technologies, but our ways of thinking and leading. And if you are interested in connecting or collaborating, find more information in the description. Welcome, David, and it's great to see you here today. How are you?
Very good, thank you. And yourself, Amy, how are you?
Everything is good, thank you. And even better when I see you here ready to share your wisdom with us.
Oh, thank you, you're so kind.
To start with, I see those fantastic frames behind you. Would you like to tell a few words about yourself and your journey and all your achievements?
Yes, sure. My life is somewhat a bit not a traditional career. I am a chartered accountant, although I have rarely worked in the accounting department for the simple reason that I am more of a creative type and I like to create organizations, I like to create solutions, and I like to be at the forefront of change processes. In fact, I've worked for on digital transformation, I would say, for the past 20 years, starting from basically with a big four firm, and then I went into working with the Office of the Prime Minister. I was a subject matter expert as well in the Middle East for helping governments to implement best practices in digital enablement. And I also worked with blue chip companies in the UK, Ireland, and the rest of Europe. My ambition is basically to put digital as a human dimension first. Your digital transformation of humans resonates exactly with what I want to achieve, basically. Because unfortunately, from my experience, most digital transformation projects fail not because of the technology, but they fail because of the lack of consideration of the human dimension. And I do try to advocate this across all my clients. And the way I do this is by basically participating in conferences, presenting a number of different concepts. I also wrote a book, which was an Amazon bestseller as well, called Digital Made Simple. And it has also won an Axiom Business Book Award, which is considered to be the Oscar of business books, which I feel quite proud about more recently. And I've also entered into the UK Business Book Awards as well, which will be announced in the coming weeks. My philosophy is very simple. I like simplicity. I like to make sure that digital transformation is as simple as possible. But simple is not easy. They are two different things. Simple for me is clarity and execution. Easy, difficulty means basically the hardships required to commit to a full plan. In a way, it's a little bit of when you carry out a workout. To lose weight and build a better body is relatively simple. You know what's the solution. It's actually to eat healthier and to exercise and work out regularly. But it's not easy because you need to have the full commitment. And what I try to instill in organizations is less complexity in planning, creating very few KPIs and creating very simple implementation solutions, but focusing more on the human dimension to generate and develop that human commitment necessary to make it successful.
I'm so impressed by your list of achievements and congratulations. I'm looking forward to see this amazing news on LinkedIn and everywhere else very soon. That sounds really great. And I
Thank
know
you.
you've been working hard to achieve that. So, lucky all those who had the chance to work with you, and lucky all those who are going to choose you as a service provider.
Thank you, Amy. Much
And
appreciated.
when working with those technologies, what are the key ethical dilemmas presented by the integration of artificial intelligence in areas traditionally dominated by human empathy and intuition?
So this is a very interesting and contentious point. I would like to quote Stephen Hawking that who said on BBC that artificial intelligence will spell the end of the human race. I am not so dramatic. I mean, we are very far away from that threat, but that is something that we need to keep in mind. Unfortunately, we need to make sure that we are and the end of the human race. It's at the end of the day, it's our responsibility not to make sure that we arrive to that point, because technology is controlled by humans. So if we are creating applications and tools that go against humans, then we are pressing the auto destruct button. So it is up to us, and it's our responsibility to make sure that we are creating ethical tools and tools that at the end of the day are there to help us. The contention between AI and AI. First of all, here we're talking about intelligence and emotions. Are they the same thing? I could argue, and there are some who argue in a very clinical way, that an emotion is also an algorithm. We live in a space and a world of algorithms. So, an emotion of love can an emotion of love be translated into a mathematical equation? There are some scientists who might argue that it could be done, but today we don't have the right tools and techniques to say that there is this algorithm which is equates to love or liking or happiness. Are there algorithms? There are people who try to study these things. We are not going that far, but in actual fact, when we equate artificial intelligence is definitely a list of algorithms, but they are based primarily on rational thought. There is a science behind them of mathematical equations that are analyzing past data, and on the basis of that past data, they are creating outcomes and predicting outcomes based on that past data and recommending and proposing solutions. Emotional intelligence is somewhat different because it is about feelings and emotions and understanding human nature. And today, we don't have algorithms that clearly and accurately explain human nature. So people can react in different ways, in different circumstances, in the same circumstances, in an unpredictable way. So there is a contrast between these two, and but they are not competitors. They are, so to speak, allies because they can create what I call co-intelligence, meaning that every type of intelligence has its strengths and weaknesses, and by combining the two, we can create a situation where we get the best of both worlds. Today, as we stand, AI is good, very efficient at processing data. It is not subject to alienation, so it can process data at a very fast rate and with limited error rates, and the error rates can be actually be measured. And it can create and analyze a much larger volume of data and analyze it than it is humanly possible from a human brain. So, in terms of computation, in terms of productivity, clearly the human brain does not match AI today as it stands. However, there are other aspects lack, which AI lacks capability. And these are primarily empathy, cultural understanding of people, creativity, and innovation so far. Although we've seen some developments with generative AI that are starting to look at elements of creativity, and that can create some problems in the future. But as we stand today, these realms are largely within the domain of the human being, where we see the human being who can cope with uncertainty. AI deals with risk, and there is a distinction between risk and uncertainty. Risk is based on statistical data, so it can be measured. Uncertainty is based on events which to date don't have enough data that could be quantified. So there is an element of feeling, there is an element of empathy, and there's an element of intuition, which are essential ingredients for entrepreneurship, for creativity, innovation, research and development, which to date AI has its limitations. So by combining these different ingredients together, we can create a better world, but for humans. So we are using AI for humans at the end of the day to make humans live in a better way. So this is where I see the contrast. We are saying standardization, routines, predictability are all characteristics and belong to the realm of artificial intelligence, whereas intuition, creativity, innovation, disruption are still within the realm of the human being. And we need both, in actual fact, and for organizations to basically flourish and sustain themselves in the foreseeable future.
I totally agree that these technologies are developed by humans and for humans. And actually, while you was describing so beautifully all those parts which AI is missing today and attributing them to the humans, I
Yes.
was unfortunately thinking about such a lack of empathy in some humans. And when I think about some leaders who are really lacking that part and their employees are getting burned out and there is such a huge rate of loss of all those amazing stars sharing their talents and their engagement and their life experience with the companies. I feel that there is really a lot to learn, even from the human perspective, but at the same time, we have to be careful because AI is copying certain parts of that emotional behavior, which might make us believe that actually it has some kind of emotions, feelings, and empathy. And
It's true.
it is not the case, right?
Yeah, it's true. I've seen applications of AI. I mean, do you want to have a friend having an AI generated friend? Okay, are we really going down that route? I mean, we need to create certain boundaries and distinctions that they clearly prioritize human health. Human health and the human mental health come first. So there are some ethical dilemmas that need to be considered well. I know there is the AI Act, which is coming in full force in 2025, will be issued by the European Commission soon. And there has been rapid and extensive consultation, and it will be effective from next year. But clearly, I think more work needs to be done to safeguard the ethical aspects and consideration of AI.
Definitely. You are so right about that. How can organizations ensure that their use of AI supports and enhances human factors rather than undermining them, besides developing those acts and definitions and all the framework around what else can be done today?
Yes, this is one of the points that has been discussed quite extensively. I had a discussion with one of my colleagues about AI that Could AI lead to a situation where we are moving towards a 4-day week, for example, at the place of work, where the productivity increased to a such large extent where rather than having a game where the winner takes all, where the entrepreneur or the owner of the business takes all the gains from the AI to himself, he shares it with his own employees by saying, okay, I'm gaining from productivity as a result of the introduction of these new technologies, but I can make the workplace better by giving you more free time to dedicate to your family. Because one of the problems that we have today is the work and family balance is sorely lacking. And clearly, having these schemes in place where through technologies such as AI, where it makes some jobs not redundant, I wouldn't say some jobs, yes, they will be redundant, but it will be creating other jobs, but it will be increase productivity to such an extent that we can have a larger cake which is shared by everyone. And this, I wouldn't blame problems on AI. I would blame the issues and threats from human beings themselves by being egoistic of retaining all the gains arising from the technology. So I don't agree with people blaming the technology. The technology is improving the productivity and it is improving the way we work together. Now, it is up to us human beings to decide how those gains are shared. It's not the AI who decides how those gains are shared. We can decide either I'm going to keep everything to myself or else everyone wins. And the society stands to gain in general. So though the threat of AI is really coming from the human being himself. And in a way, it's a bit also myopic in my view, because withholding gains and retaining them for yourself means that there is no incentive for people to improve the organization because they feel exploited. So there needs to be a clear way, aside from the regulatory issues that need to be complied with the directives. There needs to be a clear understanding and an education and awareness across leaderships, teams within companies that technology should serve everyone. It should not serve only their profit-making purpose, because in that way, in the long term, society wins, and if society wins, they will win themselves. It's not easy to convince some of these people, but I've seen organizations that understand and appreciate the importance of a collective benefit coming out of any transformation, and including the inclusion of artificial intelligence. So this is clearly one of the major points. But one of the major threats I see, which is even more tangible and realistic, is data privacy. Data privacy is clearly quite hot, and through AI, we can practically not just identify and understand people's behaviors, but we can also more, which is more risky, alter their behaviors and modify them in a way which suits us. And this is precisely what the AI Act tries to circumvent: the violation of privacy of people and the actual exploitation of the information for profit purposes. So this is something where a lot of work has been done from a regulatory point of view, but I think there needs to be a clear and proper education and awareness campaign, not just with companies, but also amongst people to be vigilant on how AI can affect their lives. And in this way, we can create a movement where there are checks and balances, not just at a regulatory basis, but also from an educational point of view, which I feel sometimes is even more important within that context. But AI also changes jobs, how jobs are created. AI depends on being trained. So we will see the emergence of new careers, and these careers will actually focus primarily in teaching and coaching AI tools and applications to emulate and replicate human behavior. In a way, you can equate an AI tool to a baby, which has an element of intelligence, it has an element of formation, but it needs to be exposed to an experience, it needs to be exposed to information, and it needs to be exposed to education. And depending upon that exposure, it will perform accordingly. So, really and truly, AI depends on humans just as humans depend on AI. And this is where there is the co intelligence part, which is very important, where we are bringing together the best of both worlds.
You lifted up so many super important parts of this and so many topics, and I loved your definition that humans shouldn't be so egoistic and should share their workload with the technologies.
Yes.
There is a lot of true in that. And of course, it will be exciting to see how technologies are developing in the area of what we humans attribute to ourselves as something unique. But I see a great danger in it as well, because once they have the capacity of thinking which is so much stronger than human capacity of dealing with information and data and processes and everything around it. And on top of that, they can manipulate human beings through feelings, emotions, through everything what is so unique to humans, then obviously they get much stronger overall compared to the human beings. And then the question is, how are they going to apply that type of benefit,
Yes.
and how it will end up for us humans?
The real danger there, here, what you are saying, Amy, is that the moment we are facing artificial intelligence, the biggest problems arise when artificial intelligence becomes artificial creativity, or even more dangerous is artificial evolution. What is that? So, artificial evolution means that AI would be capable of modifying its own algorithm. I'm not saying it can be done today, but what if the AI itself can reprogram itself? That becomes out of control. So this could be the subject of science fiction now, I know, but that's something which could be scary if we can think of it in the decades that come. But many things that we have today we did not think possible decades before. But what if that happens?
I agree. That's a great question. And from my perspective, it's rather a question what when, not what if.
Yes.
In what ways can leaders foster a culture that equally values technological innovation and human centricity so that we can hopefully at least postpone that moment of what when?
As I said before, artificial intelligence and emotional intelligence are not enemies. They shouldn't be enemies. They should be friends that work together for a common purpose. But the common purpose is the human. We have to make that absolutely clear. Human is the unit which should dominate everything. And humans have created artificial intelligence, so we should not arrive at a situation where the artificial intelligence dominates humans. So we have to be very careful about that. The way I see it is that AI would need, obviously, to be used under controls, specific controls. We need to make sure that data is respected and privacy is respected from all fronts. But on the other hand, even those who are training the AI have to have an element of certification, an element of qualified competencies to make sure that they are training it in the right way to be used for the right purpose for humans. So that is, I think, how it should evolve. Eventually, what we can see the way they work together is that where there is highly structured data, that would be focused primarily through artificial intelligence. And we can also have a situation where we have unstructured data that can be converted to structured data through natural language processing and analyzed through sentiment analysis. That's fine. But then we can have also a situation where we are creating communities of practice where humans come together, they share best practices and create a learning environment. And through that learning environment, once it is an unprecedented and innovative circumstance, through that learning environment, that is fed to the artificial intelligence, and the artificial intelligence then learns a new outcome, which is reinforcing its repertoire of potential options and solutions for the future. So both types of intelligence are reinforcing themselves. So the emotional intelligence is creating new scenarios for consideration by the artificial intelligence, and the artificial intelligence is simplifying the scenarios, based on structured data, into a manageable form so that humans can take the best decisions.
That sounds great. And I've been thinking about one very exciting question, probably a little bit unexpected, but I thought, what if? What if as humans we can enhance all that logical and creative capacity we have with intuition? Can it take us one step forward in that competition with the power of technology?
Very interesting question. You need to define what is intuition. That's also something. Clearly, intuition is something which is unique for humans, and most successful entrepreneurial ventures are born out of intuition. Intuition is based on past experiences which are seemingly unrelated, but for some reason or other, your brain processes them in a way which creates new connections and combinations that cannot be simulated in an algorithm, because you don't know why you feel like that. You don't know why this intuition. It comes from 20 years of experience of doing these types of work. And somehow, I don't know why, but this thing will happen from my experience, but you cannot really explain it. And if you cannot really explain it, you cannot create an algorithm. You cannot put it into an AI application. So having both together, I think, is the best way for humans to move around. I mean, I've also was talking to some people recently on autonomous vehicles, for example, and one of the experts I was talking to was has serious doubts, for example, on whether the autonomous vehicles, purely autonomous vehicles, will become a reality. Why? Because there needs to be simulation, there needs to be testing of the AI in a live environment. And are we really interested in risking lives to create a new technology which is autonomous? The autonomous vehicle does not have a feeling, does not have intuition, does not have what happens if something unexpected happens in the road, which is not within its program. What is going to happen? What are the legal repercussions? There are different limitations. And seriously, AI for me remains a tool. It shouldn't, for me, make this. I don't believe in AI making decisions. The decisions should be made by humans for humans, because at the end of the day, we live in a human world. We don't live in a world made of machines.
That is a very positive message to wrap up our today's conversation, because I believe that's how it should be in the best of the worlds. And that's why we're working hard to make it happen exactly that way and not the way around. It was a great pleasure to have you here today, David, and I'm really happy that you shared so much wisdom and all your experience and your vision with everybody who has been with us, listening to us, watching us, and I'm looking forward to meeting you again to continue in this exciting conversation and learn even more and take another look at what is impossible and what is possible and what really matters. Thank you so much for
Thank you very much.
sharing this studio with us today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on Digital Transformation for Humans. I'm Amy, and it was enriching to share this time with you. Remember, the core of any transformation lies in our human nature, how we think, feel, and connect with others. It is about enhancing our emotional intelligence, embracing a winning mindset, and leading with empathy and insight. Subscribe and stay tuned for more episodes where we uncover the latest trends in digital business and explore the human side of technology and leadership. Until next time, keep nurturing your mind, fostering your connections, and leading with heart.